Tonight,
excited but also nervous.
back to school. Students return to classrooms across the province. The provincial government backs down on staffing urgent care centers around the clock. And why that storm photo on your social media feed may not be as it seems.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, September 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Summer holidays are over, and it is once again time for students to hit the books. School is back in session all across the province, and Jeremy Warren caught up with kids and parents as they arrived for day one.
A dreary start to the day did not dampen the mood of Saskatchewan students heading back to school. It's the first day of classes for most kids in kindergarten to grade 12. Here at King George Community School in Saskatoon, it's one of the last first days of school at the historic building. It's closing soon to amalgamate into the new city center school. But for now, it's a new year and a new grade for students. This dad dropped off his son, who's heading into grade 6.
Yeah, he's pretty excited. The weekend was so full, we have to go to Midtown, we have to do this, we have to do that. It's the last weekend, buying some stationery. And he has an elder sister. She was not that excited to go back to her high school, but he was really excited. He misses his friends.
It was a similar scene in Regina. Kids and parents are feeling bittersweet about getting back into the swing of things.
I'm not sure, is he listening today? He should listening to the teacher, all the new routines and all the new friends, all the new room, everything is new.
Excited but also nervous.
Oh yeah, what are you most excited about?
To see my friends again and be back at school.
The first day of classes is also a good reminder for traffic safety. SGI, along with police, are reminding drivers to slow down in school zones and to watch out for distracted kids. Tickets start at $170 and increase by $4 for every kilometer per hour over the limit, plus 3 demerit points under the Safe Driver Recognition Program.
On average, we see typically less than 1 injury a year in the school zone, so I think that's a credit to the school zones themselves, the posted speed limit being obeyed by the drivers in those communities.
Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And as students head back to class, they'll find a new kind of teacher in their schools. Their roles are specifically related to handling classroom complexity and were created in the latest Teachers Collective Agreement. Aishwarya Duda has that story.
It's just like after I read a chapter of a book, I'm like, well, what the heck did I just read?
12-year-old Sunny Olver's dyslexia can make it challenging for him to read books. He and his mother, Lindsay, are hopeful having new classroom complexity teachers this school year will help. But Lindsay worries if they don't have the right training, it won't benefit kids like her son.
It would if they had training in structured literacy. Yeah, because with him, he did get one-on-one support. He did get additional reading intervention. It just wasn't with the resources that were helping him.
She says navigating the school system with a child with complex needs has been difficult.
Every spare waking moment, I was researching and reading and learning and figuring out the system and what he needed.
Schools with more than 150 students will get 1 full-time class complexity teacher. That role will be a half-time position in schools smaller than 150 students. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation estimates about 500 positions are being added.
We have been experiencing the effects of increasing classroom complexity for a while here in Saskatchewan, and it's good to see that it's starting to get addressed. But I would like to remind everyone that this is only a start.
Almost all of the positions have been filled in most school divisions around Regina and Saskatoon. The STF says it will monitor those numbers and how effective they are. But more work is still needed to meet the growing challenges in classrooms across Saskatchewan. The province said in a statement that school divisions decide their own staffing needs. The new teachers' deal funds additional hires to address classroom challenges, and the ministry will gather information about how many total positions have been filled this fall. But for families like Lindsay Olvers, the hope is that classroom complexity teachers will ease some of the burden.
I think it would be extremely helpful. I think just with all the conversations surrounding classroom complexity, I think we're honestly just reaching the tip of the iceberg and how complex things really are.
Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And school is also back in session at the University of Regina, where students are heading into their first semester without a students' union. The University of Regina Students' Union was evicted from campus late last month after an investigation into its finances by the university. Students have mixed opinions on not having a representative body.
For the domestic students, they didn't really do anything for us. They didn't really add anything. They ran the health and dental plan, but they didn't really make it clear to the students how to use those services.
Last year, it was better because I could literally just go up to them and be like, hey, can you explain what is really going on? How is my situation here in university working? Now I just have to kind of go with the flow and hope I don't drown.
Most students we spoke to say they want some form of representation. The U of R has not yet provided any information around a new students' union. A group of Chinese international students, including some from the University of Saskatchewan, is accusing Immigration Canada of discrimination and a lack of transparency over their study permit applications. The lawyer representing the graduate students has filed a case in federal court to force the agency to make a decision on the permits as fast as possible. Thomas Daigle reports.
At UBC and other campuses across Canada, there will be Chinese graduate students missing from class. Dozens enrolled in science, tech, and math programs like Yisin Chang, left waiting 16 months so far for a Canadian study permit that would typically take 4 weeks, according to Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada.
The biggest loss for me is the 1 year time. Like, how much would you pay for like 1 year in your 20s? It's priceless.
This immigration lawyer in Toronto is representing 25 Chinese students with similar stories.
This is the student that has been waiting the longest.
He's filing a case in federal court demanding immigration officials explain the holdup.
The decision-making process was not transparent because the students was not told why an extensive security check was required in their specific circumstances.
In court documents, the lawyer blames an extensive security check done by Canada Border Services Agency and CSIS. All of it, he says, may be related to a case in 2023 when the federal court barred a Chinese student from a Canadian engineering program, ruling he could be pressured by Beijing into spying.
I think they're being treated discriminately here.
I guess I'm not really surprised.
This former CSIS director says it stands to reason the intelligence service is giving a closer look to would-be graduate students from China.
It does seek to use its Chinese who are working abroad or studying abroad to the advantage of China.
No matter their intentions, Li Zhang and others are left in limbo.
Canada closed the door to the China.
Canada's Immigration Department acknowledges some students are experiencing longer wait times for processing, but a spokesperson insists all applicants are subject to the same screening, no matter what country they're from. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
A former junior hockey coach who sexually assaulted a teenaged player has had his day parole revoked. Bernie Lynch was found guilty at his trial in 2023. The incidents in question date back to the 1980s. Lynch was sentenced to 3 years in jail and was released on day parole about a year ago. But a decision released by the Parole Board of Canada says Lynch sent his victim a Facebook friend request in May, and that violated his release conditions. An arrest warrant was issued and he was taken back into custody. Saskatchewan's health minister says urgent care centres operating 24/7 is no longer a priority. The focus instead will be on opening more centres operating on reduced hours. The first centre opened in Regina last year. It was supposed to operate around the clock, but hasn't yet because it doesn't have enough staff. The health minister says he doesn't have a problem with that.
When we look at the numbers of the presentations at both Regina General and Regina Pasco emergency rooms overnight, the numbers don't necessarily justify an urgent care center being open 24/7. So in a time of limited staffing resources, we want to focus on where it's going to have the greatest patient impact. Those are those daytime hours, those 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Construction on Saskatoon's urgent care centre is expected to be finished in about a year from now. The province plans to open a second centre in both Saskatoon and Regina, and regional centres in Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, and North Battleford. Well, this first day of school certainly felt like fall for many of us across the province. Gone are the 30-degree temperatures and clear blue skies. Cooler weather and cloud cover were a theme for a lot of us Tuesday. And this may not be as cloudy and cold as we're going to get so far this week. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik has the details in her forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Last week, we told you Ottawa has granted Saskatchewan around 1,100 additional spots for its immigrant nominee program. It comes after Ottawa slashed Saskatchewan's allocation by 50% this year. But the NDP is accusing the province of not getting a fair deal. It says New Brunswick got 1,500 extra spots despite having a smaller population, while Manitoba got work permit extensions for applicants. One immigration expert says there are thousands of applicants whose applications have been returned or are still waiting for them to be processed.
There's a large number of foreign workers and students here now. So, like, the original number was 7,500, right? Even from that, they went to like 50%. Now they're around 4,000. Still, they're not in great shape, but at least they're better than before.
Singh says even with the increase, thousands of people already in the province won't be accommodated. The province says the new spots are the result of months of advocacy meant to help fill labor gaps in a province with low unemployment and high job vacancies. Well, from tornadoes to wildfires, it has been a summer full of severe weather. But at a time when AI is becoming more accessible, can we really trust every weather image we see online? Weather specialist Helena Mahalik brings us that story.
My gosh, massive tornado. Is this video real? What about this one? How can we tell the difference? When severe storms hit, you may be stopping to take a photo of the funnel clouds or the hail. In Canada, Storm Chasers and Environment Canada rely on public's videos and photos for weather information. But in recent years, people have started editing storm images, using AI to create fake weather events, or using real photos, but lying about the date and time an image was taken. Environment Canada says that poses a risk to public safety.
I guess it could result in maybe an alert or a storm report that ends up being false, but we might issue a warning saying, oh, we've had this report from this place of hail this size or trees down or whatever it is, and then if we find out later that wasn't true, well, now we've issued that warning as like a false alarm. So it's not good.
Take this photo, for example. That's a real tornado that actually touched down, but the person who submitted it intentionally lied about the details.
It was a real photo of a real tornado, but it was just from a different place. Like, it was from Texas, and it was sort of sent in as like, oh, this just happened. This was in Ontario. Like, this just happened in southwestern Ontario. And it was a real photo, but we were able to just find right away that it was from this like newspaper article in Texas.
Storm chasers say an influx of false weather reports and images is beginning to affect the credibility of everyone in the field.
So storm chasers will spend years honing their skills and capturing these real moments. So AI kind of diminishes the value of those efforts. It also kind of undermines the expertise that we kind of bring.
Hagen uses this image that was widely circulated on social media last year as one example.
Storm chaser had just compiled a bunch of different images together of a tornado that he had shot to show kind of the progression in the different stages. And, people started sharing that as 5 tornadoes touched down at once, So it's not only just the AI generated images, it's also, images being shared in false pretenses.
Technology experts say even the metadata, that's the date, time, and location a photo was taken that you can view, can now be manipulated.
Now that becomes meaningless, because if you look at what used to be, important information, the picture, the moving image, and the audio could be generated by AI. So that kind of level of proof is now gone. So I think that's going to be a real loss.
So how can you spot a fake photo or video? Experts say look for bold pops of color, unusual contours or lines in clouds and landscapes, and using critical thinking skills to think twice about what you're looking at.
And Helena joins us now, and I can tell you, Helena, as someone who was outside quite a bit over the long weekend, there was definitely nothing AI generated about how hot it was.
No, not at all, Ethan. It was really hot and beautiful for the long weekend. We had a good stretch of 30-degree temperatures, especially in northern Saskatchewan. Saturday was the hottest day. It even broke some heat records. Let's take a look at just how hot it got. Most of northern Saskatchewan was hovering at about 32 degrees on Saturday. For a place like La Ronge, that broke a previous heat record from August 30th from 1996. So it's been a really long time since they've had a August 30th that hot. For the rest of the north, we broke heat records from about 2 years ago in 2023. But coming out of that long weekend, a cold front has really dropped down temperatures. We're for about 10 degrees below what we saw just a few days ago. Tuesday daytime highs were between 15 to 20 degrees throughout most of the province. And as we get into Tuesday night, we are seeing frost advisories in effect for the northern grain belt for areas like Melfort, Tisdale, and Nipawin. We are going to see overnight lows close to freezing. You're definitely going to want to cover your plants, especially if they're in a frost-prone area. We are also seeing some air quality warnings in effect for areas along the Alberta border in western parts of the province. Over the next few days, we are going to maybe have a few more nights with some frost because temperatures are going to get a little bit cooler in the next few days. We're seeing some of those deep reds leave our map, and instead we're starting to see some yellow zones there. Temperatures are going to be in the mid-teens until the weekend, where finally we're going to see a return to some of those 20-degree temperatures. Tuesday night, mainly cloudy in the province, and just a slight 30% chance of some showers in the south. If those showers do hit, we might see wind gusts of up to 70 kilometers an hour, along with some of that rainfall. For the rest of the province, we are seeing mainly cloudy skies, and as we get into Wednesday evening, we will see some rainfall come in from a system up north, but we're not going to see a huge shift in rainfall until about Thursday, where that system comes through and brings some rainfall to the rest of the province, especially areas close to the Manitoba border. Into Friday, we're seeing some more scattered showers in that area and mainly just some cloud coverage. Some rain is a good sign because we are going to have a few days of some smoky conditions. By Thursday, we might see some of that smoke extend down into the south for areas around Regina and Saskatoon. So Ethan, definitely some big changes over the last few days weather-wise.
Yeah, certainly. I can deal with the fall weather, the smoke, maybe not as much. Thanks, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, just a decade after two U.S. food giants merged into Kraft Heinz, the company now says it's splitting back up into two separate brands. The new companies have not yet been named. One will handle shelf-stable items like Kraft mac and cheese and Heinz sauces, spreads, and seasonings. The other will focus on refrigerated goods like Kraft singles and Lunchables. The move reverses much of the $46 billion merger in 2015. That created one of the biggest food companies in the world. Well, that interception by Tavon Campbell sealed the Riders' 34-30 victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the 60th Labor Day Classic Sunday. Campbell running the ball back 112 yards to prevent the Bombers from tying things up late in the fourth quarter. And it was all in front of a record-breaking crowd of 34,000 people at Mosaic Stadium. The Riders now go 9-2 on the season, and they face the Bombers in a rematch at the Banjo Bowl in Winnipeg on Saturday. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. The Assembly of First Nations is holding its annual assembly in Winnipeg this week. And ahead of that meeting, the National Chief, Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak, talked about the federal government's plan to build big projects.
We want to make it clear that First Nations we stand with all Canadians in condemning Trump's illegal tariffs. First Nations have fought for Canada in difficult times. In every world war, First Nations were the first to step forward for this country. And now is one of those times again, and we are stepping forward. And the truth is that First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights or on the Crown's legal obligations to our people.
The National Chief says the coming weeks will be complex and will be more intense because of the social, economic, and cultural challenges facing First Nations. And Helena's back now with a look at our fall-like forecast.
Yeah, it was definitely a chilly start to back to school season. Let's take a look and see if these chilly conditions are going to last us into the week. For Regina, we are going to see the next few days temperatures in the high teens, and the sun is going to be out. Thursday is definitely going to be our coolest day with temperatures closer to 10 degrees. Very windy this day as well, with wind gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour. Thursday, Friday, our overnight lows are also going to be closer to freezing, but we start to see things warm up Saturday, and by the time we get to Sunday, we do see temperatures reach above 20 degrees, and that's going to last us well into next week. That's also going to raise up our overnight lows a little closer to seasonal for this time of year. And in Saskatoon, the sun is also going to be out all throughout the week. Temperatures hovering in the mid to high teens. Thursday, we're also seeing those wind gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour. And again, a few nights of overnight lows closer to the freezing mark. We are finally going to see those 20-degree conditions return Sunday with a slight chance of rainfall as well. And that's going to carry us into next week with some overnight lows above seasonal for this time of year as well. So Ethan, despite a few chilly days, the warm weather is coming back next week.
Okay, but for Thursday, pumpkin spice, if you haven't broken it out yet, that seems appropriate?
Pumpkin spice, warm, cozy conditions. Yeah, I can get behind that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is our news for this Tuesday. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or our YouTube channel. And you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.